Chapter 4, Structure of the Atom. In Chapter 3, we have learned that atoms and molecules are the fundamental building blocks of matter. The existence of different kinds of matter is due to the different atoms constituting them. Now the question arises, what makes the atom of one element different from the atom of another element? And second question, are atoms really indivisible as proposed by Dalton, or are there smaller constituents inside the atom? We shall find out the answer to these questions in this chapter. We will learn about some subatomic particles and the various models that have been proposed to explain how these particles are arranged within the atom. A major challenge for the scientists at the end of the 19th century was to reveal the structure of the atom as well as to explain its important properties. The elucidation of the structure of atoms is based on a series of experiments. One of the first indications that atoms are not indivisible comes from studying static electricity and the condition under which electricity is conducted by different substances, charged particles in matter. For understanding the nature of charged particles in matter, let us carry out the following activities. Activity 4.1. Comb dry hair. Does the comb then attract small pieces of paper? Rub a glass rod with a silk cloth and bring the rod near an inflated balloon. Observe what happens. From these activities, can we conclude that on rubbing two objects together, they become electrically charged? Where does this charge come from? This question can be answered by knowing that an atom is divisible and consists of charged particles. Many scientists contributed in revealing the presence of charged particles in an atom. It was known by 1900 that the atom was an indivisible particle but contained at least one subatomic particle, the electron, identified by J. Thomson. Even before the electron was identified, E. Goldstein in 1886 discovered the presence of new radiations in a gas discharge and called them canal rays. These rays were positively charged radiations which ultimately led to the discovery of another subatomic particle. This subatomic particle had a charge equal in magnitude but opposite in sign to that of the electron. Its mass was approximately 2000 times as that of the electron. It was given the name of proton. In general, an electron is represented as small e and a proton as small p. The mass of a proton is taken as 1 unit and the charge as +1. The mass of an electron is considered to be negligible and its charge is -1. It seemed that an electron was composed of protons and electrons, mutually balancing their charges. It also appeared that the protons were in the interior of the atom, for whereas electrons could easily be removed off but not protons. Now the big question was, what sort of structure did these particles of the atom form? We will find the answer to this question below. So there are some questions based on the above topics that you listen. Question number 1. What are canal rays? Question number 2. If an atom contains an electron and a proton, will it carry any charge or not? Topic 4.2. The structure of an atom. We have learned Dalton's atomic theory in chapter 3, which suggested that the atom was indivisible and indestructible. But the discovery of two fundamental particles, electrons and protons, inside the atom led to the failure of this aspect of Dalton's atomic theory. It was then considered necessary to know how electrons and protons are arranged within an atom. For explaining this, many scientists proposed various atomic models. J. Thomson was the first one to propose a model for the structure of an atom. So, Thomson's model of an atom. Thomson proposed the model of an atom to be similar to that of a Christmas pudding. The electrons in a sphere of positive charge were like currants, dry fruits in a spherical Christmas pudding. We can also think of a watermelon. The positive charge in the atom is spread all over like the red edible part of the watermelon, while the electrons are studied in the positively charged sphere like the seeds in the watermelon. So some information about J.J. Thomson. J.J. Thomson, a British physicist, was born in Cheetham Hill, a suburb of Manchester, on 18 December 1856. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1906 for his work on the discovery of electrons. He directed the Cavendish Laboratory at Cambridge for 35 years, and seven of his research assistants subsequently won Nobel Prizes. So coming back to the topic, Thomson proposed that an atom consists of a positively charged sphere and the electrons are embedded in it. The negative and positive charges are equally magnitude, so the atom as a whole is electrically neutral. Although Thomson's model explained that atoms are electrically neutral, the results of the experiment carried out by other scientists could not be explained by this model, as we will see below. So here comes another model, Rutherford's model of an atom. Ernest Rutherford was interested in knowing how the electrons are arranged within an atom. Rutherford designed an experiment for this. In this experiment, fast-moving alpha particles were made to fall on a thin gold foil. He selected a gold foil because he wanted as thin a layer as possible. This gold foil was about 1000 atoms thick. Alpha particles are doubly charged helium ions. Since they have a mass of 4U, the fast-moving alpha particles have a considerable amount of energy. It was expected that alpha particles would be deflected by the subatomic particles in the gold atoms. Since the alpha particles were much heavier than the protons, he did not expect to see large deviations. But the alpha particle scattering experiment gave totally unexpected results. The following observations were made. Most of the fast-moving alpha particles passed straight through the gold foil. Some of the alpha particles were deflected by the foil by small angles. Surprisingly, 1 out of every 12,000 particles appeared to rebound. In other words of Rutherford, this result was almost as incredible as if you fire a 15-inch shell at a piece of tissue paper and it comes back and hits you. So some information on Ernest Rutherford. Ernest Rutherford was born at Spring Grove on 30 August 1871. He was known as the father of nuclear physics. He is famous for his work on radioactivity and the discovery of the nucleus of an atom with the gold foil experiment. He got the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1908. Let us think of an activity in an open field to understand the implications of this experiment. Let the child stand in front of a wall with his eyes closed. Let him throw stones at the wall from a distance. He will hear a sound when each stone strikes the wall. If he repeats this 10 times, he will hear the sound 10 times. But if a blindfolded child were to throw stones at a barbed wire fence, most of the stones would not hit the fencing and no sound would be heard. This is because there are lots of gaps in the fence which allow the stone to pass through them. Following a similar reasoning, Rutherford concluded from the alpha particle scattering experiment that, so guys, this is important, you can note it down if you want. Most of the space inside the atom is empty because most of the alpha particles pass through the gold foil without getting deflected. Very few particles were deflected from their path, indicating that the positive charge of the atom occupies very little space. A very small fraction of alpha particles were deflected by 180 degrees, indicating that all the positive charge and the mass of the gold atom were concentrated in a very small volume within the atom. Well, these points are important because their questions can come like what was the conclusion based on the Rutherford's experiment, sort of, and you can say this is also a Important question which can come for 4 marks. From the data, he also calculated that the radius of the nucleus is about 10 raised to 5 times less than the radius of the atom. On the basis of his experiment, Rutherford put forward the nuclear model of an atom which had the following features, and this is also important, you can note it down. There is a positively charged center in an atom called the nucleus. Nearly all the mass of an atom resides in the nucleus. The electrons revolve around the nucleus in a circular path. The size of the nucleus is very small as compared to the size of the atom. So some drawbacks of Rutherford's model of the atom. The revolution of the electron in a circular orbit is not expected to be stable. Any particle in a circular orbit would undergo acceleration. During acceleration, charged particles would radiate energy. Thus, the revolving electron would lose energy and finally fall into the nucleus. If this was so, the atom should be highly unstable, and hence matter would not exist in the form that we know. We know that atoms are quite stable. So here comes the third model, Bohr's model of an atom. In order to overcome the objections raised against Rutherford's model of the atom, Niels Bohr put forward the following postulates about the model of an atom. Only certain specific orbits known as discrete orbits of electrons are allowed inside the atom. While revolving in discrete orbits, the electrons do not radiate energy. These orbits or shells are called energy levels. These orbits or shells are represented by the letters K, L, M, N or the numbers n is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 represented by small n. So some fact on Niels Bohr. Niels Bohr was born in Copenhagen on 7th October 1885. He was appointed professor of physics at Copenhagen University in 1916. He got the Nobel Prize for his work on the structure of atom in 1922. Among Professor Bohr's numerous writings, three appearing as books are The Theory of Spectra and Atomic Constitution, Atomic Theory, The Description of Nature. So some questions based on the above topics. On the basis of Thomson's model of an atom, explain how the atom is neutral as a whole. Question number 2. On the basis of Rutherford's model of an atom, which subatomic particle is present in the nucleus of an atom? Question number 3. Draw a sketch of Bohr's model of an atom with three shells. Question number 4. What do you think would be the observation if the alpha particle scattering experiment is carried out using a foil of a metal other than gold? So, next topic, neutrons. In 1932, J. Chadwick discovered another subatomic particle which had no charge and a mass nearly equal to that of a proton. It was eventually named as neutron. Neutrons are present in the nucleus of all atoms except hydrogen. In general, a neutron is represented as small n. The mass of an atom is therefore given by the sum of the masses of protons and neutrons present in the nucleus. So some questions on the above topics. Name the three subatomic particles of an atom. Helium atom has an atomic mass of 4U and 2 protons in its nucleus. How many neutrons does it have? So next topic. How are electrons distributed in different orbits in bracket shells? The distribution of electrons into different orbits of an atom was suggested by Bohr and Bury. The following rules are followed for writing the number of electrons in different energy levels or shells. The maximum number of electrons present in a shell is given by the formula 2 into 2 into n raised to 2 into n raised to 2 means 2n square, where n is the orbit number of energy level index 1, 2, 3, so on. Hence the maximum number of electrons in different shells are as follows. First orbit or K shell will be 2 into 1 square is equal to 2. Second orbit or L shell will be 2 into 2 square is equal to 8. third orbit or M shell will be 2 into 3 square is equal to 18. Fourth orbit or N shell will be 2 into 4 square is equal to 32, and so on. The maximum number of electrons that can be accommodated in the outermost orbit is 8. The electrons are not accommodated in a given shell unless the inner shells are filled. That is, the shells are filled in a stepwise manner. Atomic structure Atomic structure of the first 80 elements are like hydrogen having only like hydrogen having only one proton, one electron, with a like this for sort of thing. And so activity here, activity 4.2, make a static atomic model displaying make a static atomic model displaying electronic configurations of the first 18 elements. So here the questions on the above topic. Write the distribution of electrons in carbon and sodium atoms. Question number 2. If K and L shells of the atom are full, then what would be the total number of electrons in the atom? So um, I will talk with the, I will now begin with the valency topic, but in between I will tell you a table in which there are all listed that first 18 elements have been listed with their number of protons, neutrons and electrons. Okay, so now coming back to the topic valency, we have learned how the electrons in an atom are arranged in different shells or orbits. The electrons present in the outermost shell of an atom are known as valence electrons. From the Bohr-Bury scheme, we also know that the outermost shell of an atom can accommodate a maximum of 8 electrons. It was observed that the atoms of elements completely filled with 8 electrons in the outermost shell show little chemical activity. In other words, their combining capacity or valency is zero. Of these inert elements, the helium atom has 2 electrons in its outermost shell, and all other elements have atoms with 8 electrons in the outermost shell. The combining capacity of the atoms of elements, that is the tendencies to react and form molecules with atoms of the same or different elements, was thus explained as an attempt to attain a fully filled outermost shell. An outermost shell which had 8 electrons was said to possess an octet. Atoms would thus react so as to achieve an octet in the outermost shell. This was done by sharing, gaining, or losing electrons. The number of electrons gained, lost, or shared so as to make the octet of electrons in the outermost shell gives us directly the combining capacity of the element, that is, the valency discussed in the previous chapter. For example, hydrogen or lithium or sodium atoms contain one electron each in the outermost shell. Therefore, each of them can lose one electron. So, they are said to have a valency of 1. Can you tell what is the valency of magnesium and aluminium? It is 2 and 3 respectively, because magnesium has 2 electrons in its outermost shell and aluminium has 3 electrons in its outermost shell. If the number of electrons in the outermost shell of an atom is close to its full capacity, then valency is determined in a different way. For example, fluorine atom has 7 electrons in the outermost shell, and its valency could be 7, but it is easier for fluorine to gain 1 electron instead of losing 7 electrons. Hence, its valency is determined by subtracting 7 electrons from the octet, and this gives you a valency of 1 for fluorine. Valency can be calculated in a similar manner for oxygen. What is the valency of oxygen that you get from this calculation? Therefore, an atom of each element has a definite combining capacity called its valency. So, some questions on the above topic. How will you find the valency of chlorine, sulfur, and magnesium? So now, as I discussed earlier, I will tell you the table of all the elements with the atomic numbers as a serial number wise sort of, with number of protons first, then number of neutrons, and then number of electrons, followed by valency. Okay. So first comes hydrogen, where the number of protons and the number of neutrons both are equal to 1 1, and there are no number of electrons, number of neutrons. So the number of protons is 1, number of neutrons is 0, number of electrons is 1 for hydrogen with valency 1. Second one, helium. Atomic number is 2, number of protons is 2, number of neutrons is also 2, as well as number of electrons is 2, but valency is 0. This is an inert gas. Third one, lithium. So now atomic number is 3, number of protons is 3, number of neutrons is 4, number of electrons is 3, so valency is 1. For beryllium, atomic number 4, number of protons 4, number of electrons 5, neutrons 5, and number of electrons 4 with valency 2. Boron, atomic number 5, number of protons 5, number of neutrons 6, number of electrons 5 with valency 3. Carbon, atomic number 6, number of protons 6, number of neutrons also 6, and number of electrons also 6 with valency 4. Nitrogen, atomic number 7, number of protons 7, number of neutrons also 7, and number of electrons also 7 with valency 3, as I mentioned earlier. Like they tend to gain electrons than to lose electrons. So oxygen, atomic number 8, number of protons 8, number of neutrons 8, and number of electrons also 8, valency 2. Fluorine, atomic number 9, number of protons 9, number of neutrons 10, number of electrons 9, valency 1. Neon, atomic number 10, number of protons 10, number of neutrons 10, number of electrons 10, valency 0, and inert gas. Sodium, atomic number 11, number of protons 11, number of neutrons 12, number of electrons 11, valency 1. Magnesium, atomic number 12, number of protons 12, number of neutrons 12, number of electrons 12, valency 2. Aluminium, 13th, number of protons 13, number of neutrons 14, number of electrons 13, valency 3. Silicon, atomic number 14, number of protons 14, number of neutrons 14, and number of electrons also 14, valency 4. Phosphorus, atomic number 15, number of protons 15, number of neutrons 16, number of electrons 15, valency 3 or 5. Well, there are some you can say cases in phosphorus where sometimes it also gives all the 5 electrons to form a pentavalent condition, and sometimes it takes 3 electrons to for the trivalent condition. Well, you will learn this later on in higher studies also. So coming back to the table, sulfur, atomic number 16, number of protons 16, number of neutrons 16, number of electrons 16, valency 2. Chlorine, atomic number 17, number of protons 17, number of neutrons 18, number of electrons 17, valency 1. Argon, atomic number 18, number of protons 18, number of neutrons 22, number of electrons 18, valency 0, inert gas. Argon is also inert gas. So coming back to topic, atomic number and mass number. Atomic number. We know that protons are present in the nucleus of an atom. It is the number of protons of an atom which determines its atomic number. It is denoted by Z. And also in the above table, you have listened that the number of protons is also equal to the number of atomic is also equal to the atomic number. So all atoms of an element have the same atomic number Z. In fact, elements are defined by the number of protons they possess. For example, hydrogen atomic number is equal to 1 means Z is equal to 1. because in hydrogen atom only one proton is present in the nucleus. Similarly for carbon Z equal to 6. Therefore, the atomic number is defined as the total number of protons present in the nucleus of an atom. Mass number. After studying the properties of the subatomic particles of an atom, we can conclude that mass of an atom is practically due to the protons and neutrons alone. These are present in the nucleus of an atom. Hence, protons and neutrons are also called nucleons. Therefore, the mass of an atom resides in its nucleus. For example, mass of carbon is 12U because it has 6 protons and 6 neutrons. So 6U plus 6U is equal to 12U. Similarly, the mass of aluminium is 27U, 13 protons and 14 neutrons. The mass number is defined as the sum of the total number of protons and neutrons present in the nucleus of an atom. It is denoted by capital A. In the notation for an atom, the atomic number, mass number and symbol of the element are to be written as, with symbol of the element in middle. Upper left would be the mass number and lower left would be the atomic number with symbol of the element as in the middle, as I said. So for example, nitrogen is written as capital N with upper left 14 and lower left 7. So some questions based on the above topics. If number of electrons in an atom is 8 and number of protons is also 8, then what is the atomic number of the atom? What is the charge on the atom? So question number 2, find out the mass number of oxygen and sulfur atom using the table which I told to you above. So coming back to topic 4.6, isotopes. In nature, a number of atoms of some elements have been identified which have the same atomic number but different mass numbers. For example, take the case of hydrogen atom. It has 3 atomic species, namely protium, deuterium and tritium. The atomic number of each one is 1, but the mass is 1, 2 and 3 respectively. Other such examples are carbon, with carbon having a mass number of 12 and also 14, chlorine with having mass numbers 35 and 37, etc. On the basis of these examples, isotopes are defined as atoms of the same element having the same atomic number but different mass numbers. Therefore, we can say that there are 3 isotopes of hydrogen atoms, namely protium, deuterium and tritium. Many elements consist of a mixture of isotopes. Each isotope of an element is a pure substance. The chemical properties of isotopes are similar, but the physical properties are different. Chlorine occurs in nature in 2 isotopic forms with masses 35U and 37U in the ratio 3:1. Obviously, the question arises, what should we take as the mass of the chlorine atom? Let us find out. The average atomic mass of chlorine atom on the basis of our data will be 35. You can say the mass of that first isotope into its existence, which is 3 to 1. So 75 by 100, 75% plus 37, the mass of the another isotope into its existence, which is 25 upon 100. So calculating this, we get 35.5 U, which as I earlier mentioned, the mass of the atomic mass of the chlorine, 35.5 U in the above earlier chapters. The mass of an atom of any natural element is taken as the average mass of all the naturally occurring atoms of the element. If an element has no isotope, then the mass of its atom would be the same as the sum of the neutrons and protons in it. But if an element occurs in isotopic forms, then we have to know the percentage of each isotopic form. Then the average mass is calculated. This does not mean that any one atom of chlorine has a fractional mass of 35.5 U. It means that if you take a certain amount of chlorine It will contain both isotopes of chlorine and the average mass is 35.5 U. So some applications, since the chemical properties of all the isotopes of an element are the same, normally we are not considered about taking a mixture, but some isotopes have special properties which find them useful in various fields. Some of them are: an isotope of uranium is used as a fuel in nuclear reactors. An isotope of cobalt is used in the treatment of cancer. An isotope of iodine is used in the treatment of goitre. So, topic 4.6.1, isobars. Let us consider two elements, calcium, atomic number 20, and argon, atomic number 18. The number of protons in these atoms is different, but the mass number of both these elements is 40. That is, the total number of nucleons I'm telling, is the same in the atoms of this pair of elements. Atoms of different elements with different atomic numbers, which have the same mass number, are known as isobars. So, some questions on the above topics. For the symbol H, D, and T representing hydrogen, deuterium, tritium, you can say the three isotopes of hydrogen, protium, deuterium, and tritium. Tabulate three subatomic particles found in each of them. Question number 2. Write the electronic configuration of any one pair of isotopes and isobars. And this electronic configuration is basically done in the form of, you can say, distribution in the shells like KLMS shell that I told you earlier. And also regarding this electronic configuration, you will know later on, but your teachers can also help you. So, what have you learned? What you have learned? Credit for the discovery of electron and proton goes to J. J. Thomson and E. Goldstein respectively. J. J. Thomson proposed that electrons are embedded in a positive sphere. Rutherford's alpha particle scattering experiment led to the discovery of the atomic nucleus. Rutherford's model of the atom proposed that a very tiny nucleus is present inside the atom and electrons revolve around this nucleus. The stability of the atom could not be explained by this model. Niels Bohr's model of the atom was more successful. He proposed that electrons are distributed in different shells with discrete energy around the nucleus. If the atomic shells are complete, then the atom will be stable and less reactive. J. Chadwick discovered presence of neutrons in the nucleus of an atom. So, the three subatomic particles of an atom are electrons, protons, and neutrons. Electrons are negatively charged, protons are positively charged, and neutrons have no charges. The mass of an electron is about 1 by 2000 times the mass of a hydrogen atom. The mass of a proton and a neutron is taken as 1 unit each. Shells of an atom are designed as KLMN. Valency is the combining capacity of an atom. The atomic number of an element is the same as the number of protons in the nucleus of its atom. The mass number of an atom is equal to the number of neutrons in its nucleus. Isotopes are atoms of the same element which have different mass numbers. Isobars are atoms having the same mass number but different atomic numbers. Elements are defined by the number of protons they possess. So, some exercises. Question number 1. Compare the properties of electrons, protons, and neutrons. Question number 2. What are the limitations of J. J. Thomson's model of the atom? Question number 3. What are the limitations of Rutherford's model of the atom? Question number 4. Describe Bohr's model of the atom. Question number 5. Compare all the proposed models of an atom given in this chapter. Question number 6. Summarize the rules for writing of distribution of electrons in various shells for the first 18 elements. Question number 7. Define valency by taking examples of silicon and oxygen. So question number 8. Na plus has completely filled KLN shells. Explain. And so if Z is equal to 3, what would be the valency of the element? Also name the element. Isotope of an element have same physical properties, different chemical properties, different number of neutrons, different atomic numbers. Choose among these which is right. So number of valence electrons in Cl minus ions are 16, 8, 17, 18. Choose among these which is right. So for the following statements, write true or false. Write true, write T for true and F for false. J.J. Thomson proposed that the nucleus of an atom contains only nucleons. A neutron is formed by electron and a proton combining together, therefore it is neutral. The mass of an electron is about 1 by 2000 times that of proton. An isotope iodine is used for making tincture iodine, which is used as a medicine. So, one more question is there. Which one of the following is a correct electronic configuration of sodium? 2, 8, 8, 2, 1, 2, 1, 8, 2, 8, 1. So here I end the chapter. I hope you have all have understood what all the concepts are there in this chapter, and also if you have some doubt about the electronic configuration, your teacher can also tell. Basically it is based upon the distribution of electrons in K, L, M and shell, and the order is the same. First of all K, then L, then M, then N, with K having 2 electrons maximum, uh, L having 8 electrons maximum, and then further on 18, and so on. So basically in this way the classification is done of the electronic configuration. So thank you for listening to the chapter. We will meet again. Thank you.